welcome to the CBN News Live Desk here. Breaking news, the United States has launched a major airstrike inside Iran, targeting not one, but three of the regime's most critical nuclear facilities. According to Iranian officials and state media, the Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan nuclear sites, which lie at the very heart of Iran's nuclear ambitions, were all hit by U.S. bombers in what President Trump is calling a very successful military operation. My name is Dan Andros with CBN, and I'm joined tonight by CBN senior White House correspondent Kelly Wright. And Kelly, as the president just said not long ago on Truth Social, he broke the news that people were wondering which way he was going to go on this, and he posted this. He said, "We have completed our very successful attack on the three nuclear sites in Iran, including the ones I just mentioned. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Kelly, this is the news. People were, we thought it might take a little bit longer, but did not end up taking that long at all.
Yeah, Dan, it was just yesterday that I was at the White House and talking about the president and his plans. If you'll recall that during the White House press briefing, he had expressed through Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, on Thursday that he was going to give this 2 weeks, holding out the hope that negotiations could be made and peacefully resolve this issue diplomatically before deciding to do what he has done. I will say this real quickly. He says that on True Social, "I will be giving an address to the nation at 10 p.m. That's what we're waiting for tonight at the White House regarding our very successful military operation in Iran. This is a historic moment for the United States of America, Israel, and the world. Iran must now agree to end this war. Thank you." So we're waiting to hear from the president. But in talking about this sudden surprise that has surprised members of Congress, some of them are supporting the president. Others are looking forward to questioning him next week about this in terms of War Powers Act and if the president acted constitutionally. The bottom line is this. The president had given Iran 60 days to come to the table to negotiate for an agreement to end its penchant or its appetite for developing nuclear weapons. They did not. And on the 61st day, Israel struck. And they struck at the heart of Iran. And now the United States has gone in to actually strike those three sites, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. And Dan, I also have with us tonight Wally Ferris. I've known Wally Ferris for many years. He is a foreign expert, was one of the former advisors to President Trump on foreign policy, even with regard to Iran. He's here to join us as well to weigh in.
And Kelly, before we go to the guests here, I just wanted to mention to everyone watching, we will be carrying that speech from President Trump when it happens. It's supposed to happen in a little over 20 minutes from now. So stay tuned. We will have that as it comes.
That's great. And we will be here. So make sure that those of you who are watching, you'll want to hear from the President of the United States having made this historic decision. Wally, if we can bring you in now, Dan and I obviously have a lot of questions for you. You have advised this president in the past on issues involving foreign policy in the Middle East and most notably with Iran. What can you tell us in terms of your response to the president's actions today? It is Sunday in Iran now, and people are obviously aware that their three nuclear sites have been hit and hit very hard. Fordo, as the president says, is no more.
Absolutely. I knew the president personally when he named me as his first foreign policy advisor. That was the end of 2015. And at that time, he was already stating very clearly, he's for peace, he's for diplomatic resolutions. But if there is an aggressor, dangerous one, who could get nuclear weapons, who has been funding militias across the region, one of which committed October 7 in Israel later, of course, and then a regime that is penetrating the West, organizing radicals. This is a regime that cannot have nuclear weapons. Forward to now, the president also gave them, as you said, 60 days. They have not responded. They tried to stretch time and postpone, thinking that maybe in a year and a half there will be a change in Congress, there will be another opposition. They didn't want to cooperate. They don't want to let go of their strategic weaponry, because if they do, and that's an important point, their population will dare them. Their population will rise against them. So the president did the right thing, waiting 60 days. Even now, after the strikes, by the way, he's saying, almost saying, you don't have the cards. You know, he likes this expression, I have all the cards. What card do you have? And still, I will have negotiations with you, but on different grounds, on the grounds of changing the entire policy of the Islamic regime in Iran.
Well, there's a lot of this time around. It's interesting because on the political front, there has been, I guess I would say, a loud minority, and it's hard to even really put what the number is of people who are kind of voicing sort of this anti-war type sentiment that we normally hear from the left side of things, but we hear it a little more on the right now. People like Tucker Carlson and people who like him who have really opposed almost any military action, despite the threats that uh, point out that Iran brings to the region and to the world right now. So the president makes this decision. What do you think he's thinking about, if at all, for these voices in Congress and outside of Congress who are criticizing any military action at all, saying it's just going to lead to more war?
I learned over the past few years to make a distinction between classical isolationists, people who don't like to intervene no matter what against anybody. Every nation has them. Sometimes they are logical, sometimes they borrow a logical position. That's understandable. But my concern recently is that some of these voices are actually in line with the interest of the Iran deal. We could go for an hour to show that there is a whole tranche, a whole section of our political structure that has been impacted, influenced by the interest of the Iran deal. Let's remind your viewers that under Obama, a transaction was done of $150 billion. The return to the brokers is $15 billion. That's why we saw all these influences in our foreign policy, from academia to media, and of course to decision makers, opinion makers. So I'm concerned about that tranche, not about true Americans who do not want any interventions, unless, and I was at the beginning of MAGA in terms of foreign policy. MAGA says basically, America first, but for America, it's national security first. Look what he has done. Upon his arrival to the White House, first thing, before Iran, before Israel, he shut down the border. The border was an invasion into us, so that we have to give him the credit. And second, going worldwide to see where he can spread peace, create the conditions for ceasefire. Look what he's doing in terms of Ukraine, Russia, Gaza, Yemen. Now with the jihadists, it's a different story because they don't believe in peace. It's ideological. That's why I think what he has done this afternoon, and of course all those who worked with him, is historically important.